What will happen if the ice caps keep melting and the oceans keep rising? Ask the Venetians. Venice floats beside the Adriatic Sea, and every Venetian lives with a unique fear that could come true any day. Acqua alta, high water.
The first time I knew the problem of high water was 10 years ago. I lived in a small house at the ground floor, and I arrived to my house and it was completely flooded. The acqua alta is getting worse.
Monica is right. 100 years ago, St. Mark's Square flooded up to 10 times a year. Today, more than 60 times a year. A rising tide that threatens thousands of homes.
The water is very awful. It's very awful. The smell, everything is wet. The walls, the furniture, everything. It's very difficult to clean it up. It's awful.
In 2005, Venice suffered the most floods ever. In a single year, water swept through the streets once every 3 days.
There are some kind of high tide that can be very scary. When it comes during the night, you can feel the water coming up, coming up. You can hear the breath of the tide. The city is completely in silence. It's very terrible, the feeling of this tide.
And the tide is rising. The Adriatic climbs 1/40th of an inch a year. As the sea is rising, the city is sinking. Venice rests on 118 islands, linked by more than 160 canals. Each island was once a salt marsh. Huge pilings were driven into the soil to create the city's foundation. Yet under the sheer weight of the buildings, Venice is sinking by more than half an inch a decade. At this rate, by 2030, the city will have to be abandoned.
I think that the problem of high water has to be solved, because Venice has to be saved from the water.
Venice's salvation has begun. The MOSE Project. The most ambitious flood control system the world has ever seen.
I can't imagine the future of the city without a safety protection from floodings. So we can't speak about future of Venice without the MOSE project. MOSE is the biggest work under construction in Europe. I'm responsible for this big project. So yes, I'm very proud to be involved in this kind of work.
A lagoon surrounds Venice. At 3 inlets, the lagoon meets the Adriatic Sea. The MOSE project will block high tides surging through the inlets and save the city from flooding.
MOSE project is like a door, just to close temporarily the lagoon from the Adriatic Sea.
Moses' backbone is 3 breakwaters, 1 at each inlet, designed to calm the power of the tides. Specially shaped blocks of concrete, known as aquapods, cover the sections of breakwater most exposed to waves. They seem randomly placed, but through GPS satellite technology, each is precisely positioned to lock together and deflect strong tides. Spanning the breakwaters is the world's largest mobile flood barrier. 79 floodgates, each 100 feet high and 65 feet wide. The gates are completely hollow. In calm weather, they remain filled with water and rest on the seabed across the inlets. Whenever winds or storms cause the Adriatic to rise 3.5 feet above normal, the gates will deploy. Compressed air is pumped into the gates, forcing water out. As the gates become buoyant, they rise 30 degrees, creating a vast barrier of safety.
It's very important for Venice and its lagoons.
In this century, global warming could raise sea levels by almost 3 feet. Experts predict more than 300 million people could lose their homes. The fate of generations to come may lie in the genius of one of the oldest cities on Earth.
Mose will solve definitely all the problems of flooding. We have to do something because Venice is a city not just for Italians but for the world.
Thanks to Mose, Monica Ambrosini's nightmares of high water may soon be just a bad memory.
I'm very happy the Mose project will protect Venice against all the high tide, because the future of Venice will be also the future of my child.
Water everywhere, and modern technology to keep it out.